Okay, last we left off, I'll go ahead and continue. The door closed and the elevator descended. The glass construction of the walls made it easy to view easy to view. Okay. Okay. Made it easy to view the rest of the floors. One had walls made of paper, framed in wood, and soft glowing lights to echo a dignified and poise and serenity. Hold on, I'm gonna see if there's no other notes here. Because I've already looked it over once. This was, and a lot of it is just mainly dialogue issues. And it looks like, yeah, okay. A door slid open to allow tenants in and out of their condos, and they left their shoes outside. Further down, one floor was illuminated by bright white neon lights that framed all the surfaces. Each line was covered in light along the floors and ceilings and outlining the doors. This floor looked more suited to a trendy nightclub than a place of residence. The 3 floors above the bottom floor were always blacked out, and today was that kind of day that Maria wondered why. She began to move outside her assumed place. This is why you need to read it out. This is why you need to read it out for stuff like that. Why does it look like that? Where's the brightness? Hold on. Something's going on with my camera here. Is that it? Then go back to normal. It might be my screen. Hold on. I'm going to pause it right here real quick. Okay. The 3 floors above the bottom floor. The 3 floors above the bottom. I should change that. The 3 floors above the 3 levels. I can use levels. 3 levels above the bottom floors were always blacked out, and today was that kind of day. Maria wondered why. She began to move outside her assumed place and immediately bumped into a few other women. They didn't respond with annoyance, but with a polite smile, saying, delete that, "Excuse me." Despite the differing voices, they all matched in cadence and pace. Before explaining this thought further, the ding brought her back, and the light pouring in from the door opening brought a smile to her face. The women stepped out to a bright and balmy city. The air carried the smell of the sea. Cars roved in the streets. Women walked out of shops with bags in hand. Vendors sold tiny treats on the sidewalk, and there was plenty room to walk. The sky above... Was there already put walk somewhere? Emerged. Using emerge. Shops, bags in hand. Vendors sold tiny treats on the sidewalk, and there was plenty of room to roam about. The sky above was bright and blue. It hugged the city so tenderly. A light breeze caressed Maria's skin, telling her that she was welcomed here. In front of the elevator was a red platform made of carpet. The women had a clear view of an enormous clock tower that loomed over the city. It was precisely noon. This platform was the highest... Oh, where am I? Okay. Platform was the highest point of the city. After dispersing, the women had to trek down the solitary road, making the walk back up a bit of... Okay. Had to trek down the solitary road, making the walk back up a bit of a workout. The women never complained as they spouted the worn and expected mantra of bigger hills, legs that kill. Okay, I was getting worried because I thought of that road that kind of slung down like a hill, and it's right there. Okay. The women never complained as they spouted out the worn, I don't need and expected. The worn mantra of bigger hills, legs that kill, Maria was close to a restaurant with outdoor tables filled with patrons. They consisted of young women and their older and more attentive male companions. Some men couldn't keep their eyes off of their companions while sliding their palms up their legs. Just to kind of give you more gross feeling, I'm thinking to replace that with thighs, make it more specific. You know, something about older dudes with younger gals. You know, so others was more with a more. I'm gonna use a more. With a more romantic sense, held their companion's hand while sporting gleaming faces. The tacky gold bands on their fingers and outdated gold watches dispelled a stench of to really tacky wealth. It enunciated the types of relationships that were on display. Maria's heels clacked nearby, and like blood in the water, some of the men sniffed it out with their ears and began to feel with their eyes. One decided to get a taste with a touch. Ow! Maria yelped out. She rubbed her bottom near the source. I can go ahead and do a space right here. Oh, this keyboard. She rubbed her bottom near the source. Bottom. I don't need that comma. She rubbed her bottom near the source of the pain. Looking back, she saw a smaller old man with his fingers imitating a crab claw. Opening and closing his fingers, he let out a giggle after doing so. What I wouldn't give to get a bit of that salsa in my mixing bowl, he cackled. Out. I don't need out. Maria's muscles tightened with her fists clenched. For a split second, her eyes furrowed and her will was absolute. She spun her whole body to face the lecherous old man. Wind in her chest and resolve in her bones, she let out, "Oh, you." A familiar jolt realigned her thoughts to wave the action. Because I'm thinking this is like a play on words, like, you know, she physically waved it off. Well, she mentally waved it off, like waved her hand away from the situation. But I don't know, it doesn't translate very well. So, and waved the action away. She walked on with a smile and pep, almost giving the old man a show. The large store at the end of town was the only set piece with no frills and stood frank. Inside, denizens could shop for groceries and other supplies for the house. Maria walked around the produce section and picked up an apple. Shining and perfect in her hand, she was compelled to put 4 more in a plastic bag. With the 5th about to drop in, she stopped and pulled it in front of her face. Pristine, perfect, peculiarly, I can type it out, but I can't say it. Pristine, perfect. I'm going to get rid of that. Yeah. Pristine, perfect. Similar to the other 4. And separate that with a comma. Yeah. She took a bite, and the crisp crunch attracted the attention of everyone in the store. Of course, the apple tasted perfect. The customers looked away when she looked around. Some turned around and tapped. She looked around. Some turned away. Where's the Y? Oh man, I'm sorry for the sniffles again. I don't think I'm gonna. It's just allergies right now. Oh, it's kicking my butt. Tapped on their phones while skulking away. She turned away while skulking out of view. After a gulp, she dropped the perfect apple. Well, since it's not perfect, worthy. I want to sneeze, but it turns into a yawn. I hate this. Oh man! Into her bag. Where did the time go? She felt herself asking while looking up at the sunset sky. She blinked and furrowed her brow, and the instinct to say that it was unnatural, and she looked around. One woman widened her eyes and smiled at her as if the question needed to be posed. The woman looked grateful that Maria had asked. On every light pole in the city, speakers were set up and had a low-profile kind of design. They were integrated with the poles, only a waffle grating to allow the sound to come out. We hope your day was as productive and happy as the rest, the voice warmly called out of the poles. The women and some of their companions entered the elevator in blocks at different intervals. With nothing to clog the cogs, this process takes them 1 complete hour. Maria stepped in with the last group for the evening. As the elevator began to ascend, Maria took notice of some of the men remaining in the streets. She also noticed more scantily clad women coming out of the darkened corners of the streets. Before she could react, the elevator passed through the 3 darkened floors. On her floor, empty hallway facilitated the echoes of her steps. She could see herself meditating at the constant clacks. Gonna focus here. Focus up. Okay. It came to a complete stop when a scream tore through the hypnotic ambiance. The door to Unit 619 was wide open, and anything that could break inside the unit fell to the ground. And anything that could break inside, that doesn't make sense. I'm going to delete that. The door was wide open. No, you can't do this. The voice sounded like Esther, and Maria's heart began to race. She moved slowly towards the door, hands clutched together after realizing that there wasn't much she could do if things got worse. And it is now 9 o'clock. I'm going to try my best to get this up before midnight, but, this is a pretty long video, so I don't know if that's possible. Man. Reaching the frame of the door, a sheet of white slammed into her view, knocking her to the ground. Gaining her bearings, she looked up to see 2 large men in white clothing holding on to Esther by each arm. She was flailing about, her hair wild to match her desperate eyes. "Don't let them take me!" Maria reached out with one hand while covering her mouth with the other. She froze and stayed in that position as Esther kicked and pulled, fighting for some semblance of freedom. Sorry, I burped. She continued to yell out until one of the large men slipped a card into the elevator console. It opened instantaneously and they dragged Esther inside. With another insert of the card, the door closed quickly and the noise of the ordeal disappeared. Maria finally broke out of her frozen state. Standing up, she started to debate whether to continue on or whether to continue or investigate further. She could feel the powerful pull to go straight home until she heard a grunt coming from inside Unit 619. It sounded masculine and seemed to evoke frustration. I'm gonna blow my nose real quick. Whatever alternative route she toggled in her mind completely disappeared as she rooted inside her. Oh man, I hate this. I hate when I'm about to sneeze when it turns into a yawn. Why does it do that? Oh god. Spawned to the noise. Plopped on a chair was a lumpy old. I used that to describe her husband. The reader could get confused and confuse it. I'm gonna look up a synonym for lumpy. Because I imagine these old dudes to not be very physically fit. chunky, thick. Huh, I always thought lumpy more as like a surface kind of thing, not necessarily a size kind of thing. I never associate with chunky. Then again, this could be meaning like the food, like lumpy mashed potatoes, chunky mashed potatoes, I assume. I like knobby, but knobby, I don't know. Bumpy? Lumpy? No, I don't like. I can make them really old and use, or was it crumbly? Like that boy, ashy, powdery. Yeah, I'm gonna use crumbly. I like that. It was a crumbly old man who held a bag of ice on his temple. Maria walked over to him and placed a hand on his shoulder. Mr. Shkreli, are you okay? He looked up with a scowl on his face. It softened when he saw who it was. Oh, Maria. I don't know what happened. We were relaxing one moment, and in an instant, boom, she snapped. Is there anything I can do? A grin cracked along. Oh, this works! Oh, this worked! Like, I found the right word. Because, like, you know, he's an old dude. So when he gets, like, a smile, it kind of breaks along in his skin. And then when you put crumbly, it works. Alright. A grin cracked along his face. Well, if you're offering sweet cheeks, I can think of a different type of healing. Maria was very grateful that the spark in her brain did not compel her to follow up on this demand. She walked through the door and placed the bag of apples on a nearby table in the living room. She walked through. I'm going to change it to her door. That way it's clearer that she made it back home. She walked through her door and she sneezed things, so I'm going to put her name here. Maria walked through her door and placed the bag of apples on a nearby table in the living room. Her husband seemed to have moved from the kitchen to a large chair. We don't know. We're learning this stuff right away. To a large chair. Sitting on the couch next to him, she removed her shoes and sucked air through her teeth, indicating that the pumps were a pain to wear. It's like really telegraphing it, really projecting it. So something major happening at the Shkrelis today. Maria mentioned while rubbing her soles, not looking up at him. Oh yeah? His cadence moved up by the smallest increment, but it was enough to inform her that he was listening. Esther was... Why does it look like that? Why does the font look like that? I mean, it might not look weird to you, but it looks weird to me. Esther was screaming about being taken away. She looked so terrified, the poor dear. Oh, jeez, Wasabi, I'm working. Ugh. You don't think she flew off the handle about something? Not Esther. Maria sounded so sure. Something must have freaked her. Maybe it's the air or the water she'd been using to water her. Alright, settle down. He finally put the piece... I can see why there's confusion about the hyphen. I already removed it, and I think I'm using it okay, because it's an interruption. So, leaving that. Alright, settle down. He finally put the paper down and looked at her. Was she taken away? Oh, because he's asking. Oh, okay, I can see the issue here. This is my personal thing. Esther. This scene is weird to me now. I mean, it could work for the character. You know what? No. For what's happening, and... Oh, Wasabi, what are you doing? No! Oh my gosh! Okay. Shouldn't be too bad. I can fix this. Okay. Fix it. Esther was screaming about being taken away. Okay, no, this scene actually works. It might not work for you right now. You're like, yo, why is she not freaking out about this? But then again, do you remember the jolt in her brain? Maybe it's readjusting her. But where is this jolt coming from? Why is she having this kind of suppression in her mind? Yeah, this makes sense. Like, she's kind of breaking through, and he's like, all right, settle down. Yes, by men in white. Then there's nothing to worry about. There isn't. See, okay, this is my personal issue, because I think it's turning out well. It's just I jumped the gun way too early, even on my own work. Then I move on and read more. It's like, okay, now that makes sense. Okay, I just need to keep reading my work and. Okay. It looks bad, but I'm sure she's been taken to where she needs to be. Before too long, she'll be back doing the things she's supposed to. I hope you're right, she said softly. There is one more thing. Yes? I went to check on Mr. Shkreli, and, well, what? Spit it out. I'm gonna... Because there's too much dialogue and not really any specification as to who's saying what. Yes. Okay. I can clarify kind of the tone issue right here. Actually, if I put the, was she taken away? Yes, by men in white. Okay. Her tones. Oh, I did it again. Her tone started to linger towards genuine worry. And there's nothing to worry about. It's a genuine concern. Then there's nothing to worry about. There isn't. Felt a spark of relief. Soothing to relief. Felt a spark of relief. Felt a spark of relief starting. Felt a spark of relief spreading through her. Spreading through her body. Yes. I keep forgetting that I have to fix that too. There is one more thing. Yes, well, what? Spit it out. Spit it out. Her husband's tone came harsh in the last two words. Her husband's tone became coarse, became harsh. Became harsh. I like it. Okay. Her husband's tone was harsh. Oh, she was harsh. It was just harsh. It wasn't just starting after he said it. He said it, and it was harsh. It works. Okay. He made an advance on me. I wasn't gonna do it, I swear. You had better not, her husband responded. We're saving that for Thursday. So already, this world is kind of icky. That's good. That's what I'm going for in this story. A pause fell over her. Vision bending and warping, her mind tugged in what felt like multiple directions. She looked at him, and their eyes locked in what felt like forever. Her lips moved to articulate her thoughts on this. Okay, dear. 10 more pages. Open, please. Maria complied as the red-headed woman pressed the tongue depressor. As the woman pressed. Oh God, I really gotta sneeze, but for some reason I can't. Oh man, this sucks. Breast. Pushed. I like push. Maria compliant, a red-headed woman. Pushed the tongue to brush. I don't know if that makes sense. Press. Has the red-headed woman pushed the tongue to press? Push the depressor on her dog. The woman waved a flashlight while examining her throat. Something about her unsettled Maria. Not in a disturbing... Oh, that doesn't make sense. Because she's unsettled, but she's not disturbed. What does that even mean? I don't know what that sentence means. Not in a disturbing sensation, but as if the routine inside had been interrupted. Okay, remember I said that I jumped the gun way too early? I'm going to read the rest of it and see if it makes sense as I continue on. Something about her unsettled Maria. Not in a disturbing sensation, but as if the routine inside had been interrupted. The redhead wasn't smiling. Her eyes were focused, and she happened to wear more clothing than any woman Maria had ever seen. Okay. I mean, it makes sense in the sense that this woman is brand new. Okay. Unsettled Maria. Okay, I'm just going to change that to bothered. Something about her bothered. Because unsettling is like more fearful and more like scary. Whereas this, because in this sentence, because the redhead woman is wearing more clothes and she's not smiling and her eyes were focused and more aware of what's going on, that's why she's, it's not a disturbing sensation, but it was as if the routine, I don't know what the inside means. I gotta get rid of that. The routine had been interrupted because this woman doesn't follow the routine. The redhead wasn't smiling. Her eyes were focused, and she happened to wear more clothing than any woman Maria had ever seen. Gotta pinch something. Ouch. Ugh. Doused with questions, a determination to get one answered filled her body. I don't need that. Filled her... to get one answered... Filled her mind. Oh, that kind of contradicts a lot of what's going on in the story, so I might change that. Doused with questions and determination to get one answered. Occupied. That works better. Occupied. The redhead darted her eyes, looking for any abnormalities. Satisfied or not, she pulled the tongue depressor out and placed it in a plastic bag. Placing a thumb under Maria's left eye, she began to pull down. I don't think she has to begin pulling down. Hold on. Something's going on. Okay. Simple. She pulled down. Please don't blink. Their eyes were locked. Their encounter was of circumstance, but to Maria this moment was significant. She eked out a question. What's your name? Move your eyes to the right, please. Maria did as told, breaking eye contact. Still determined, she cleared her throat to ask, Are you having a good day? Eyes to the left, please. See, I don't need to really specify here, because this is a faster scene. A faster scene here. because we already established that Maria wants to ask a question and wants it answered. And we know this redhead woman is all business. So we can kind of already tell who's talking in this scene. And because I don't really need to put a lot of action, because it's so rapid fire. And you can kind of already, her commands kind of indicate what the actions are happening right now. So I don't really need to change much in this section here. So, what's your name? Move your eyes to the right, please. Maria did as told, breaking eye contact. Still determined, she cleared her throat to ask, are you having a good day? Eyes to the left, please. Looking to the left, she saw her husband and a man in a white coat conversing in the living room. I need to change that to talking. Talking in the living room. The man in the white coat held onto a clipboard and seemed to guide her husband down a list. She hoped it wasn't serious, despite the grim look on their faces. The redhead came into view. To calm her thoughts, Maria continued her quest. I'm going to use questioning. Questioning. Do you like what you do? Eyes down. Are you married? Eyes up. How's it like being a doctor? This question got a response. The woman stepped back from her, and the gaze she shot didn't have the same disconnect from before. This time, there was purpose and intention in her stare. This probably wasn't the type of engagement Maria was expecting. She was expecting it, but I'm going to say hope for. There are no doctors here. Oh, what the heck? Oh, what a twist! There are no doctors here. What? Linda! A voice interrupted them. That will be all. The redhead woman... I can go ahead and just do a break right here. The redhead clasped her hands in front of her body and bowed her head. That seems too weird. Yeah, that's way too weird. That's too weird. I don't like that. The redhead nodded and backed away from Maria. The man in the white coat stepped into view. Did I already use that already? Came into view. I'm just going to delete that. We already know that she's going to ask questions. Yeah, that'd be fine. That'll work. Okay. The redhead nodded and backed away from Maria. The man in the white coat stepped into view. His voice matched his strong features. There was an eerie, piercing quality to his eyes. They were a light brown that seemed to see through Maria. Yeah, that'll work. He gave her a quick grin and turned to Linda. What have you got for me? Nothing entirely abnormal, just normal wear in the usual part. Nothing entirely abnormal, just normal wear in the usual spots. Doctor? Oh, please, call me Jim. Ooh, see right here? He's like, don't call me that. I ain't a doctor. He reached out a hand and they both shook. Doctor? Maria, I already used eked. I like the term eked out because eked out is less than say. Yeah, I'm gonna explain a little bit. Because eked is like you squeak it out or not. I thought it was lengthen. In a way, you're kind of stretching it out. I don't know what I'm talking about. Maria. And how do you say squeeze out? Like squeeze out a sentence. Squeeze word. Squeeze out word. Squeeze out word. I'll just use squeeze out straight up. Maria squeeze out. I don't like that. Doctor. Maria said meekly. Yeah, I like that. I like that. Oh, please, call me Jim. He reached out a hand and they both shook. Pretty strong grip, Maria. What exactly is wrong with me? Well, that's what you're going to tell me. The grin never left. I'm going to ask a few questions, and all I ask is that you answer. There was an oddly strong, an oddly strong, odd gusto in her response. Of course. So on that first day when things were off, what were the specific sensations you felt? Did he ask a question? Okay. Well, that's what you're going to tell me. I'm going to ask you... Okay. I'm going to ask you about the tingling, and I'd like you to be honest as possible. Because he didn't ask a lot of questions. I'm reading this back. It's like, oh, he only asked one question. So I changed that. This is the only question he asked her. On that first day, when things were off, what were the specific sensations you felt? Well, I distinctly remember my head feeling like it was splitting in two. Not sliced, but pulled apart from both sides, Maria responded. Jim wrote on his clipboard while glancing up at her. Every so often. He sat silently, waiting for her. I don't need a waiting. Waiting for her to continue. I know I'm in control. Wait for her to continue. I know I'm in control of my thinking, but I feel a pull that makes me get in line, you know? It's like I'm being controlled by a remote. Jim pulled in close. The smile went away and his eyebrows arched down. It felt as if he was looking at the wall behind her. His rough hands grabbed hers and she almost let out an audible gasp. Tell me a little bit about your past. I don't have to change what I replaced before, because he's just going back to something else, so it's fine. There's not a lot I can remember, she started. I do remember meeting my husband when we were both young. I remember our first kiss, our first date, first kiss, first... Maria paused before resuming. Chuckling in embarrassment, because she almost talked about something PG-13ish. And I'm going to use a comma because it's leading on to the next thing. My use of hyphens is good, okay? Everything from when I was 16 to now. I remember being happy for the most part. Maybe a few squabbles here and there, but content. That's why I'm scared, Jim. I'm scared because I feel one way. It feels true. I'm scared because I feel one way and it feels true. But then I feel pulled in another direction. What's weird is it also feels right. Jim released her hands and slapped his knees before standing. Knees before standing. The smile turned. Well, Maria, I'll take in your comments and analyze them back. I'll take in your I will. Well, Maria, no. Well, Maria, I thank you for your honesty and will look to the physical test for thank you for your honesty, and I thank you for your honesty. Yeah, that'll work. Yeah, I don't need to all that. For now, try to take it easy and go with your instincts. Thank you, Doctor. Please, just Jim. They exchanged. He waved. Okay. Whew. Because he can't shoot a smile if he's already smiling. Please, just Jim. He laughed as Linda followed behind him. He walked away. Please, just Jim. Please, just Jim. Okay. Linda followed behind him as he stepped into the living room and motioned to her husband to come outside with him. With a bit of effort, he got out of his chair and stood between the door and Maria. That makes it seem like he's really close. So I'm going to get rid of this line. With a bit of effort, he got out of his chair and did as Jim commanded. This line kind of indicates what his character is like if you're already kind of getting a vibe from him. So, you know, he's smiling, he seems really easy to talk to, but he can also get people to do what he wants. So maybe, you know, maybe that kind of says something about him. How the heck is it 9:30? It was literally 9 o'clock just now. What the heck is going on? Has it really been that long? Man, something about writing just makes it speed up. Okay, Jim commanded. She shot her. Okay. She shot her husband a quick smile while he stared. Quick smile. For he turned away and went outside. Give it to me straight, Doc. Or no, give it to me straight. What am I looking at? She's using a few strange terms. It's fantastic, really, but the pauses will continue unless we intervene. What do you want me to do? What do you want to do? Fix her. I don't need this, because we already know the spaces indicate, you know, a shift in time. This is a new scene, and it's pretty obvious. Like, I mainly use that if it's still the same scene with the same characters, except time. Like, it's the same location, but time has passed and they're doing something else. You know, kind of a cut there. It's what I'm using in my novel. But for this short story, this is just a new scene, and this will be like a chapter break, if you will. Maria had left her condo much earlier than usual, wanting to beat the crowd before everyone else took the elevator. It didn't take long for her to reach Esther's door. She practically ran down there when she saw her on the lawn. I can use Maria again. Maria practically ran down there when she saw her on the lawn. Esther. Tending to her plants, her face expressed no trauma relating to what had happened to her just 24 hours ago. What happened to her? That's too long. Yesterday. Good morning, dear. It's been a bit since I've seen you. Did I check my I didn't even look it over. She started. There we go. Jeez, I keep forgetting this stuff here. It's so hard. Oh, gotta get back to the scene. Okay. All I'm looking is making sure I got the capitalization right. Eyes were locked. To the left, eyes down, step back. There are no doctors here. What? I don't need to capitalize. The voice interrupted them. Maria said meekly, "Listen, Harley, what have you got for me?" He reached out his hand. What exactly is wrong with me? He grin over left. Of course. This is a weird thing. Ooh. Okay, so far I'm good. Good morning, dear. It's been a bit since I've seen you. Esther, what happened? Why did they take you away? Oh, Maria, you and your dramatics. I wasn't taken away. I went somewhere helpful with some nice boys. But you were screaming about being taken away. I was a little ornery, wasn't I? No need to worry your head. I'm fine. They helped me when I arrived. Arrived where? I'd love to continue our chat, but I really would. But I think Mr. Shkreli needs me inside. Picking up what she needed, she seemed to bolt away and go inside her condo. Maria couldn't help but feel the cold touch of isolation. She continued to dwell on this as she made her way to the elevator. Inside, she stood alone and wondered about the intricacies of this place. Things such as the fact that everyone is married but had no children. Maria remembered wanting children many years ago, but her husband told her that she should put that silly thought out of your head. He claimed that she was vapid and thus didn't have the right machinery to make it work. It was harsh, just as she remembered, but he was heavy into alcohol then. That's not harsh you remembered. No, it's fine. It's a nice detail to know. Not a nice detail, but it's a detail to know. It was harsh, just as she remembered, but he was heavy. Alcohol, that's what she's decided. No, that's kind of dumb. I don't like that. It was harsh, just as she remembered. But she decided to continue suppressing the pain. So you know there's some issues going on. Like more than just squabbles that she was talking about. But I went ahead and removed the alcohol part. It's one of those weird things where, yes, it's a detail, it's information, but it feels so kind of shoehorned in, you know? If you ever encounter that, it's weird. I don't really like it, so I went ahead and just got rid of it. This is great. People should really read their work out loud and discern it like this. You know, it really cleans the whole draft up. Continue. It was harsh as sheer. You know what? I'm gonna get rid of this too. I want the reader to kind of infer that and kind of, you know, form that themselves. It was machinery. It was just as harsh as she remembered. Nice, sweet, and short, and it says a lot. And because we know that she smiles and calls him dear and, you know, gussies up for her number one man, like this sentence alone, you know she's holding some stuff in. You know, like, the pain of the relationship is there, but she's putting on her best face. I like this much better. Just to keep it short like this. It tells us everything we need to know about their relationship. She knew she was about to pass through the darkened floor, so she pressed herself to the window, hoping to sift through the dark. through the 3 mysterious floors. So she pressed herself, hoping to sift through the darkness and get the smallest inkling as to what went on in those places. They passed through and she learned nothing. It was the same void that she and others ignored for years. They were simply too giddy when they got their husband's permission to leave the floors and go into town. Downstairs, the air was the same, but today it had a stale stench to it. Oh, it seemed like Maria was stinky. Okay. The speakers were loud and overbearing, and the temperature never changed. Now I can use unnerving. Is unnervingly a word? I'm gonna look it up. Oh, unnerving. Okay, that works better. We're loud and overbearing, and the temperature was unnerving in its consistency. Did I spell it right? I did not. I'm also a terrible speller. Oh, no, I did. No, I didn't. There was a slump to her walk, and people took notice. Women began to whisper among themselves while the men sat and stared. The tug in her head was much more prominent, and she had enough consciousness to be annoyed by it. Still, it compelled her to straighten her posture. Now, if this was a novel, I'd expand more on this, but pretty much this whole section is kind of, things are starting to fall apart in her life. For some reason, she has this weird tingling in her head. Her husband is still the same, but she's starting to see some things that are strange. She's starting to notice that things are really weird around here, And of course, there's that whole thing that of their relationship where he said she doesn't have the right machinery to make it work. This scene is pretty short. It's a short story, and I need to wrap it up, so I went ahead and threw that in. Hopefully, it doesn't feel too disjointed, but I feel like because I'm not gonna go over what she did throughout the day. It'd make the story way too long. I wanted to stay under the limit, so I went ahead and just moved on to the next scene. Oh man, I might have to stick a chopstick up my nose just to relieve the sneezing. This is gonna be a long butt video. Upstairs, there was a dampened tone to her steps. Esther's patch of grass was the only splash. Why is it dampened? Oh, because, I don't know, there was I want to use a different word. Subdued. And not just tone, subdued pace. Subdued. Like, she's not feeling great. She's thinking about yesterday. She's thinking about her relationship. She's thinking about what's going on in her head. So this works. A subdued pace to her steps. She's not peppy. She doesn't have that smile. And she's more aware. She even looked into the mirror, into the windows whenever she reached the darkened floors. So something is happening with her, to be sure. This patch was the only splash of color in the area. Maria now had a distaste for the minimalistic aesthetics of her floor. The edges felt uniform and could fit into place in the background, just like intended, just like her. Ooh, I like this sentence a lot. I know. I'm the worst ever because I'm bragging about my own writing. I'm just the worst. but let me break it down for y'all. Okay. The edges felt uniform and could fit into place in the background, just like intended, just like her. Damn. That's a good ass line. She stopped by Esther's patch and knelt down, very much like mourning a lost friend. Oh, that's sad. Man, because she's gone. Yeah, that spunk that was always in Esther. Now, after having that horrific incident happen to her, after being taken away by men in white, and then acting like nothing happened, was Esther a lie the whole time? Goddamn. Now I'm really getting into it. She ran her fingers through the blades of grass, closing her eyes to intensify her focus on touch. Pulling her hand back, she looked to her left, then her right. Standing up, she wanted to dissuade any prying eyes from making note of this strange behavior. Oh man. Like, just because she knelt down and played with grass, she thinks of strange behavior. That should give you an indication of what this society is like. Her door opened after the proper turn of the key. Entering through, she was shocked to see what was inside. No, Wasabi, don't scratch my leg. I have to cut his nails. They're sharp as heck. Okay. There were two large men in white standing tall in her living room. Her jaw dropped and her eyebrows curled up in worry. It wasn't a violent outburst, but enough to draw concern. We don't have to make this difficult, one of them said. The tug returned at full force, but she could feel its crawl before becoming whole. Standing strong, she responded, no. Okay, let me read this again. The tug returned at full force, but she could feel its crawl before becoming whole. This time, she mentally prepared herself. Okay, there's a scene missing that I would love to add in, but it would push the word limit so hard. I'm gonna say it. And please don't hate me for not including it in this story, but just know I really wanted to put this in here. Okay, what I really want is to have a scene, and it could be after, like, right before this one, obviously, but pretty much laying at night. Oh, I should also make it gross, too. After getting intimate with her husband, she's lying there, he's fast asleep, of course, but she's lying there on her bed, and she starts mentally she starts fighting that pull, and she kind of not trains herself, but kind of gets into the mode, gets into the feeling to mentally prepare and at least be aware of when that jolt, when that pull, when that spark is about to hit. Whenever it's going to hit, she's already mentally prepared. Oh man, it would have been so good. But you know what? This is fine. I already like where this story is going. It's a missing scene, and I'd love to put it in. I bet I could still put it in. I'll check the word count. If it's too long, as it stands already, I'm not going to put it in, obviously. But if there's enough room, I think I might put it in. So okay. This time she mentally prepared herself. Standing strong, she responded, no. Her husband came from her side and gripped her tightly. Her husband came from her side and gripped tightly. Oh God, I want to sneeze. Gripped tightly on her wrist. In his eyes there was a fury she thought she would never see again. Perhaps it was anger mixed with the distinctive stench of fear. Do as you're told, he said through gritted teeth. No. He dug his nails into her wrist and pulled. For the first time that he could remember, he felt her pull back. Yo, I need to write that scene. Holy crap, this is amazing. Damn. Okay. I took out some stuff. And if it's even if it's short, I really want to put that scene in. I'm going to put it in. Okay. Maria tore herself away from his grip, leaving skin behind for her trouble. Okay. tore herself away from his grip. Wasabi, stop messing with my stuff. Stop. Okay. Look at this. Look at this fool. Look at this fool. Wasabi, you're being so disruptive. How rude. Okay. Because he dug his nails into her wrist and pulled. For the first time he could remember, he felt her pull back. Maria tore herself away from his grip. Shavings of skin. Shavings of skin embedded his nails for his trouble. Before she could take stock of what happened, and even before she could examine, I'm gonna take, because those two are the same thing. So before she could check the damage to her wrist, and even before she could run from the scene, Jim stepped out from behind the large red in white. She froze, wondering what he was doing there, and hoping that he could possibly help her. His face was stern and determined as he pulled a device from behind his back. It held the shape of a pistol, and the barrel was replaced with a satellite bowl. It had a module in the middle. He pulled the trigger, and she felt as she shielded herself from incoming ordnance. When it connected, no bullets hit any part of her body. The device emitted a wave that scattered her brains, and she found it difficult to stay standing. She fell to one knee and felt a tingling numbness pounding through her body with every heartbeat. Her eyes fluttered as she reached out with her wounded hand. It was then she noticed something odd about the injury. Before contemplating this any further, I'm going to put any, I like that better. Any further, her eyes shut tight. Next scene. When they opened, bright lights peered in through the slits, making it difficult. Peered in through her. Okay. Peered in through her slits, making it difficult to see. She tried to speak, but groans vibrated from her throat and escaped her mouth. She lifted her left arm and could see a patch of white over her wrist. She rotated it to find if she felt any pain. Oh my, you're not supposed to be awake. The owner of the voice was shrouded in darkness in front of the white light. She could see the mysterious man approach her before he placed a hand over her eyes. Maria couldn't move. Her body wouldn't allow it. It's okay, Maria. This will all be behind you. Next scene. Honey? Maria. Maria inhaled, nearly choking on the air when her eyes blinked. Be careful, you almost cut your fingers, her husband said. She looked down and saw the knife in her hands. She was midway through a cucumber and the blade was dangerously close to her ligaments. Everything all right? Her husband asked. His tone carried a streak of compassionate Okay, I'm going to change this here. His tone carried a surprising capacity of compassion. I'm going to check surprising. Yes, just a terrible dream. Will you be heading downstairs today? No, I think I'm going to stay in, darling. His tone carried over. Dinner was quiet and went on without incident. Maria wasn't as active or expressive as she had always been. She did her best to suppress this vibe by answering her husband's questions with big smiles and forced expression in her eyes. Did I already use eyes? No, okay. I'll clean up here, honey. Clean up here. Honey, you go in the living room and relax. She said with candor in her tone. Oh boy, I didn't even check if I took away the... Hopefully I didn't even say it. Okay. Damn it, I have to go back. Okay, he said regretted to you. Ah, jeez, I have to go back. Okay. Oh God. These allergies are gonna kill me. One of them said, it took a turn at full force this time, blah blah blah. Not blah blah blah, I liked it. She told Oh, excuse me. I'm gonna mix that down whenever it comes to recording. The voice, Honey Maria, Hale, be careful. Her husband said, down, you're right. Her. Jeez Louise. Don't. Okay. Good. Oh man. So in the kitchen, turning on the faucet allowed her to go through these new thoughts without arousing suspicion. Maria leaned on a countertop and knew that it wasn't a dream. The pole felt different. Her default felt like complying and going through the steps. The pole was now... Okay. Her default, felt like complying and going through the steps. The pole was now a derailing of the routine. So now the pole, the spark, the jolt, it's now doing the opposite. It's telling her to go against the grain. How did this happen? I guess we'll find out. Looking down at her wrist, she was dismayed to see looking down at her wrist that was damaged in the last scene. So she remembers what's going on. But her husband assumes, the way he's talking to her and the way they're interacting, he is implying that hopefully she forgot everything that happened. Hopefully whatever happened to Esther happened to Maria as well. There were no markings, no signs of injury. The knife was in her line of sight. She knew she shouldn't grab it, but this pull, this disruption to routine made it easier to resist the default. Maria decided to go with the changes. She slid the top of the blade from the base of her middle finger and rode it up to her fingertip. Before she could notice anything further, instinct told her to peer her head. Her husband sitting and reading the paper. She rushed to the bathroom, prompting his attention. The bathroom was locked behind her. She began to dig inside the wound and expected to feel immense pain. It did not come. She hesitated when the default state told her to stop and exit the bathroom to explain the strange behavior to her husband. The pull told her to keep going. Like a bandage, she tore the flesh from her finger. Liquid hit the porcelain sink, but when she forced her eyes open, air was knocked out of her chest. It wasn't blood. Expecting to see the white of bone, she was confronted with the shiny gray of metal. Wires and gears were shaped to resemble tendons and muscles. The default state shouted her to stop, but now this pull was her waking up for the first time. Maria dug her right index finger into the middle finger into the base of the cut. Tearing the sheet of the human facade, part of the palm was exposed. It was metal, with tiny parts working together to allow smooth movement. Coated on the metal was oil instead of the blood she thought would be there. "What are you doing in there, Maria?" His voice shifted to a harsh authoritative tone. "Open this... Oh, better fix that. Open this door now." She now dug 3 fingers in the back of their hand and pulled the rest of the fake flesh. Gripping it, she began to tear it off her arm. The supposed flesh was intended to muffle the noise she was making when she rotated her wrist. Now when she moved, the exposed limb let out mechanical hums and whirs. A superb attention to detail, but far from human. The flesh was thick and made a thump when she dropped it on the sink. "Maria, don't throw this life away. How long did you know?" Her voice cracked. "Man, this is amazing." The lump in her throat and the heat from her tears were infuriating. They weren't real to her. Not anymore. "How long have I been like this? Let me in, we can talk about this." She took off her pumps and stepped inside the shower. With a bit of reach, Maria unlocked the doorknob and quickly returned to her hiding position. The door flung open, and a large mass of her husband rushed in. For a split moment, he thought she disappeared. I'm missing a period there. Okay. In his peripheral vision, Maria slipped out behind him. With the best of his ability, he tried to reach his hands toward her, but she managed to break away. She broke the front door from its hinges and she ran into the hallway. Her bare feet stepped on the hard ground, and she couldn't stand the sound of fake flesh making contact as she ran. Cradling her exposed arm, she made her way to the only exit available, the elevator. Pressing furiously, the elevator seemed to take a nice age to reach the platform. Her husband was outside the hall, head tilting up like one would do when they see something or someone far away. "Maria, we can work through this. I need you to calm down." She kept pressing the call button, and he surprisingly threw his hand up, and he surprisingly stood there. And did not give her chase. The elevator door finally opened, and to her horror, she saw the familiar men in white with Jim in front of them. "No, please." She fell to her knees, her resolve broken. What was real? What wasn't? The men in white attempted to grab her, but were stopped. "No," Jim said aloud. "She'll go on her own." He was right. Maria stood and walked into the elevator with them. The door was closing, and through the slit she saw Esther exiting her condo, water canteen in her hand, not a single care in the world. Jim slid a card in the hidden slot on the console, and the elevator began to descend. Maria saw the familiar floors and different kinds of women walking about. She had questions but felt drained by revelations. She looked up when they stopped at one of the darkened floors. The door opened, and the grimy fluorescent lights flickered on as the four entered. Maria covered her mouth to the ghastly sight she bore witness to. Standing in rows were naked women with blank expressions on their faces. Jim noticed that she wasn't moving. The questions rattling in your head, it's exactly why you're here. What am I? I think we should sit down. In a room fit for interrogations, the two sat across from each other. He held her exposed arm like a lover would, examining the fingers. He moved her joints around, and the small buzz was music to his ears. Beautiful. Are you even a doctor? Maria asked, barely getting the words out, even though I got the words out pretty fine. Like I said before, I'm just Jim. Think of me as a handyman. My job is to ensure that our tenants have the most realistic and authentic experience in our postmodern world. He didn't answer my question from before. What am I? Quite possibly my greatest creation. Your husband paid for the most accurate version of his beloved Maria that money could buy. I went over my superiors by implementing code that turned into all of this. Frankly, I'm proud. Are you going to kill? She stopped and kept her gaze low. Destroy me? Oh no, not at all. Jim waved his hands. On the one hand, they'll have my head. On the other, yours is much too valuable to waste. His jovial tone did nothing to bring Maria back from the depths. Jim cleared his throat and leaned in. Now, Maria, shall we get to work? Next scene. The morning. We're already here. I don't need to say the next morning. The morning was peaceful in the condo. Maria was in the kitchen. Was in the kitchen in nothing but a robe. Eggs and bacon sizzled on the pan while her husband shuffled out. He kissed her on the cheek and she let out a playful giggle. I love you, darling. I love you too, Maria. Next scene. Jim sat under a lonely light. He made a few different notes on a writing pad. Something scratched on the concrete floor in the darkness, causing him to tilt his head up. I can graft you new skin if you like. Jim said to the darkness. A metal hand peered out of the dark. Said to the source of the scratching. A metal hand peered out of the darkness and grabbed the metal bars. No, a reverberated and tattered voice replied. I refuse to wear any more lies. The rest of the true Maria stepped into the light. No flesh or skin, her entire body was metal. Her eyes were the only things that looked remotely human. And how will you do that, my dear? Someday, some way, I'll leave this place, and before I do, she got close to the bars and stared into his hypnotic eyes. I'll kill you. And that's it. That is my short story. The story is called A Pretty Facade. It will be in a compilation book, anthology book. We went over a lot of stuff. Hopefully I got the editing right. I fixed a lot of the mistakes I had. And it was mainly a dialogue kind of thing, so I'm glad for that. I'm going to do a final word count. It's pretty high. I think it's great how it is. I like it, like that last scene was pretty climactic for sure. So I went ahead and looked over everything. I'm gonna go ahead and submit it probably tomorrow morning. For now, just gonna sign off, and yeah, it's gonna be a long video. I might have to separate this video in 2 parts. I might do that. Well, I better get to work on editing. Okay. Alright guys, I hope you enjoyed the video tonight. This is either the end of part 2 or I just make one really long video. I don't know if people will be watching, but I think I might spend all night editing this one, and it shouldn't be too bad. I might not even do a lot of editing. I might have to split it into 2 parts. So thank you again for watching. I hope you got a lot out of it. I think the number one thing that people should think about whenever they're writing is to be unafraid. Because my story is pretty out there for sure. And if you kept along with me, you know what I'm talking about. But I feel like if you're able to have an idea and run with it, then that's the thing. Because a lot of people come up with a lot of great ideas all the time. But the issue is they never want to expand on it. They never want to work on it. And because of that, they always remain good ideas, but maybe it's not going to work on paper. Whenever I came up with the idea for this short story, the first thing I did was kind of question it, pick it apart to death. How does this work? Why does this work? Why is it here? Why is it that? And the obstacle is you're supposed to push through it and come up with answers to those questions. And I feel like people get discouraged whenever they get hit with those questions and they don't put any more work into their ideas. I definitely had a lot of fun writing this short story. It will be in an anthology. Whenever it's up, I'll definitely make a post about it. As far as the next video that I'm going to do, more than likely it's going to be more short story stuff, because I am submitting another short story to the anthology, so that's going to be pretty exciting. You guys will see me in the process of putting that story together, so I'm very excited to get the next video out there. But yeah, thank you again for watching. Stay safe, have a good night, and just write. Sabi. Whoa, where? Hello.